Hello. I'm going to post episode 24 of Terrorize You to the Core podcast this way. Reason being, when I tried to upload it from GarageBand, it says that the file is 15 minutes too long. So we're going to do it this way. So here is episode 24 of Terrorize You to the Core podcast, season 1 finale. Enjoy. Terrorize You to the Core podcast, brought to you by Jasmine Lugo. Tonight's episode 24, our season 1 finale. Copyright April 2017. Tonight's episode, The Nursing Job Gone Bad. This story is special as it has 2 alternate endings. Stay tuned, terrorizers. Hope you enjoy. My car broke down on a rural road. I was a traveling nurse and this was my furthest client. I liked visiting with this patient, but it was a long drive out. Practically nothing around except woods, and that was all. Now here I am sitting on the side of the road. I checked my cell phone. There wasn't even a signal. I looked out my window and saw a few drops of rain that hit the windshield. I thought for a few minutes, deciding it was not too far from my client's home, that I could just walk back and use their phone to get help. I grabbed what I needed, locked up my car, and started to walk back. It was pretty dark, also a bit scary with all the random noises I heard from the nearby woods. The drizzling rain did not make anything better either. The sound of the droplets hitting the trees and the ground amplified my scare senses. I walked quickly. This walk seemed to be taking forever. I hit an uneven part of the road. Of course, my clumsy self ended up tripping on it. I tried to catch myself, but with the wet pavement, there was no way I was going to catch myself. I fell down and hit the hard ground pretty hard. This was definitely not my most graceful moment. The headlights of a car shined right on me. This must have made me look like an awkward creature. The car came to a stop just shy of me. I could tell the guy in the car was trying to stifle a laugh. He said, "Need a little help there?" I tried to keep a straight face. I got up and wiped myself off. I explained about my situation. The man replied, "Oh, that's my aunt's house." I was surprised to hear this because I was led to believe my patient was by herself. He offered to take me back to the house as he did not have a phone himself. I was cautious, but I needed to get back. It was getting late and I knew my family was going to be getting worried soon. I got in the car and he offered me a tissue to wipe myself off a bit. I thanked him. He began driving in the direction of my patient's house. I sat there for a little while, just absorbing what was around me. I looked to my left when I saw him tapping his finger on the steering wheel. I connected eye contact with him, and he gave me a smile. I smiled back and tried to think of the things to talk about to make this ride a little less awkward. But then I saw we were almost to the house. This is what got me. He drove past the house. I told him to stop the car. Well, more like I yelled to him, "Stop the car!" He slammed on the brakes and pulled to the side of the road. "Oh my God! I'm sorry, I must have missed the turn. I zoned out there for a second." He looked at me with a weary smile. I was not getting a good feeling about this guy. He reached his hands toward his chin to scratch. I placed my hand close to the door handle just in case. He looked towards the rearview mirror and groaned. "I can't see out the back of this window. Because of this rain, it's steaming up my windows." He reached towards the back seat. He tried to shift himself to reach further, and I heard him cough and groan. "Oh, I got it. he managed to get out. I said, "Oh, good. You can finally get the windows cleaned." I heard him laugh. Then he stopped abruptly. "Or I can." He took the towel he had and tried to shove it over my face. In my mind, I knew I had to fight. I tried to get away, but he was so much stronger than me. I woke up later in a room that was dark. I realized I must have passed out by whatever he put over my face. I tried to look around, but my eyes were having a hard time adjusting. Then, the light turned on my eyes. They burned from the sudden brightness. Standing in the corner of the room was my patient. She stood there smiling, this weird smile. She said in a sinister voice, "You met my nephew." "I see." I couldn't speak as my mouth felt so dry and my fear overtook me. Her nephew came into the room. He gave his aunt a hug. He said to her, "Do you like my new toy?" She smiled and said, "Yes, darling, I do. Now don't you break it like you did the last one. Pretty soon they will stop coming." He smiled at her and said, "Oh, I just broke her leg, Auntie, just so she couldn't get away, like last time." I looked down the best I could and saw my leg was missing. He cut off my leg. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. That's when I realized I had something on my neck. It felt raw. He took my vocal cords. I was a prisoner, not only to them, but in my own body. No one ever did come. They got rid of everything that was mine. My family will never know what happened to me. And my patient, she wasn't even ill. She staged it all so she can bring her nephew his precious dolls. She even danced and sang in the house. I could hear her chilling voice singing. Just a ploy, I told myself. Alternate ending. I got away from him. I smashed his face with my elbow. I was able to hit him so hard that he fell back. I got the door open, even though I was a bit dazed from the towel, but I managed to get out of the car, falling just a little. I gathered my bearings and I ran stumbling to the house my patient owned. I heard the door of the car open. I heard something fall on the floor. My heart raced as I rushed to the driveway. I got to her front door and banged as hard and as loud as I could. I heard shuffling in the house. The door opened slightly and I rushed in, nearly knocking over my poor patient. She stared at me with fear in her eyes. I slammed the door and managed to tell her to call the police. She said, "Why on earth would I go and do that?" I gave her the quick version of what happened. The shock on her face got to me. She said, I don't have a nephew." Just then, the door had an axe flown through it. We saw the sharp end crack the wood. We both jumped back. I screamed as a brick came through the side window. He hit the rest of the glass away. Smiling with his smile of disgust, he said, "I sure miss you." He got into the house. I grabbed the nearest thing near me by the fireplace I saw was the poker. I swung it, and he stumbled back. But then something sharp and hard hit me on the back of my head, and I fell. I awoke. What must have been long after. I heard some movement behind me. Then I heard voices. I told you not her. She was good to me. Too bad, said a male voice. I want her. She will go with the others. I was so terrified and confused. I felt something walk into the room. As I closed my eyes so they would not see me, then I heard her say, she was mine. She was my nurse. You can't have her. And then I heard his arm slap her in the face and she fell into the wall. I said, she's mine. Then I felt something prick into my arm. I opened my eyes quickly and saw the needle in my arms, and his eyes met mine. He smiled at me and said, you will now go with my other dolls. Here I am, stuck in a cage room, just like the other nurses that he's taken. Help, I say, but nobody comes. Then one day I heard noises. I heard the door unlock, and I look inside, peering through the crack as it swung open a little. I peeked, and I saw her standing there, my patient. She said, go now. I ran as fast as I could. I ran and I ran and I ran. Eventually, I found the store. I told them what happened. And they told me there isn't a house down those streets. That house was burned down. Are you sure? I told them to call the police. I told them. They did. And the police came. They took me back to the house where I told them, even though I didn't want to go. And when they looked, and they saw, sure enough, there was just a dilapidated house sitting there. What was going on? This has been the season finale, episode 24 of Terrorize You to the Core podcast. Hi everyone. I hope you enjoyed season 1 of Terrorize You to the Core podcast. Season 2 will begin in a few weeks. Gotta gather those creative juices to terrorize you more. If you like, now you can download Terrorize You to the Core podcast episodes on iTunes. Just look us up and Terrorize You to the Core podcast. We also have a Google site, Terrorize You to the Core podcast. You can search us up on Google and you will find us. As creepy as that sounds. You can also find us on Facebook. Search Terrorize You to the Core podcast Facebook page. You can also download episodes from SoundCloud. And that has been episode 24 of Terrorize You to the Core podcast, Season 1 finale. Again, you can download episodes on your iTunes, Facebook, and SoundCloud. Our Facebook page is Terrorize You to the Core podcast. You can search us through the Facebook search. You can search iTunes by Terrorize You to the Core podcast. Have a great night, Terrorizers.